Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bert's Bike. I did it. I sold my Indian and got me a 2023 Z900RS. The bike looks phenomenal. Alright, let's do the first ride. So, I already tested the Z900, and after test driving it, I decided I wanted to get the RS, and already I can tell you that the seating position is more sporty, more lean forward on this one, which I like. Right to life. It's going through the high idle phase. Obviously it's brand new, so I want to be respectful of the break-in. Alright, let's go. Alright, already the setup from the factory is more sporty. And the brake lever is more forward. That's really good. So they set it up correctly. Nice of them to fill it up for me. Let's see if I can find neutral. Easy. Alright. So far the cowl is doing a great job of keeping the wind off of me. The handlebars are closer together, but they're kind of angled down, which is good. So you get more streamlined of a stance. Yeah, bike just definitely sounds amazing. The shifting is so smooth. The gearbox is so smooth. Easy to ride. Now this road is like super chewed up. And it's still, I mean, you're bouncing on it, but you're not getting jostled around like a cruiser, I should say. The bike is just raring to go, but already I'm feeling good about this. Okay, I put the first 2 miles on it, just keeping the revs low. Man, the soundtrack on this bike is amazing. Okay, so the wind management, now that I'm up to speed, 50 miles an hour, the wind is kind of coming up and down, which is interesting. So you get this sort of, you know, I can feel a little bit on my chin, but the wind is definitely coming up and down on the bike, which is nice. Keeping your head pretty clear of the turbulence. Yeah, this is awesome. Now I do have my backpack on the seat, but I do like being leaned over. And riding the RS version, when you're sitting there at a standstill, you're pretty straight up. But when you actually start riding the regular RS, you're leaned forward just slightly. But this is more so. Yeah, this is more so. You're definitely more in a aggressive position on this. But still very comfortable. With tank pads it'd be perfect. Probably gonna have to get a set of those. The other thing to notice too is if you have polarized glasses, this negative screen is a little hard to see, but I like how there's a little eco mode on there that tells you if you're riding economically or not. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh man, why did I ever leave Kawasaki? Yeah. Still holds true on this one. Smooth. I just hit a huge pothole back there, and my Indian would have been jostling around, and this is just taking it like a champ. Don't get me wrong, you still feel it. It's not like riding on a cloud. You don't feel like disturbed by it, I should say. Alright, just adjusted the lever here. Yeah. It's a little too far out for my taste, but that's pretty good now. This black with the gold is just beautiful. Amazing. So one thing about going maybe from my Indian to this bike is that in the Indian, depending on what gear you're in, it just feels like that the bike wants to live at a certain speed, and this one, even if you're in like you know, slow traffic in 4th gear. It's still very responsive. I don't necessarily know if that's the bike or whatever, but I think the responsiveness has something to do with having a cable actuated throttle. And that's something I missed about my W800 and a lot of other bikes that I had, was that cable throttle. Alright, so now I'm up to speed. And 60 miles an hour. And the wind management is pretty good, so it's basically, you're getting it on your chest, mainly, but it's not uncomfortable. Yeah, this is cool. I love it. Just enjoying the ride. The mirrors are exactly where they need to be. I can just see like a little sliver of my arm. They're pretty much exactly where they need to be. I think if I adjusted it out a little bit, it'd be perfect, but I'm trying to work with where they are right now. Try not to repeat myself on the Z900RS review, but let me tell you that the riding stance on this is very different than the RS. I read somewhere that the tuning is slightly different as well. That there's a little bit more in the mid-range of this bike. Not exactly sure, but so we'll have to double check that. Alright, so as you could tell, I was the first one to ever really ride this bike, and you could smell those factory oils burning off. It's a good smell. Let's see if I can find neutral. Neutral's super easy. The view from the cockpit is perfect. Yeah, I was just so taken with the standard version. I was looking for something to replace my Indian with because I was just not getting along with that bike. It was a great bike and everything like that, but it just had too many quirks for me. And also, I'm just probably not a cruiser guy. I like being upright, or not even upright on the bike, but higher up, you know, and I like kind of a standard, more sporty style bike if I'm going to be riding. I just have a lot more fun with that, but this is my Z900RS, and it is quite the looker, I have to say. It's black and gold, looks amazing. Let's continue the ride. Starts right away. Alright, so why Kawasaki? Well, I had such an amazing experience with my W800 Cafe, more than any other bike that I've ever had. I think that's the bike I kept the longest, and I figured I'd go and try a couple other bikes out, and well, come to find out is that I always kind of missed that W800, so I ended up looking for a W800, but I wanted to get something that was I wouldn't say a step up, but just, you know, something in the same vein, and something still Kawasaki, you know. And I've been kind of eyeing this bike for a long time, but honestly the problem with this bike, why I didn't jump on it sooner, was because they kept coming out with the lime green version, and I like the look of the lime green. It's just not the bike for me, you know. Thank God Kawasaki came to their senses and started coming out with the gray one. Looks really sharp. The 2022 version looks really good, the black with the white striping. But I think the most classic looking Cafe version is this one right here. It's the black with the gold stripes. Just really, really sharp. Just sets the bike off. I've just been kind of eyeing it, and like, I know that would be a great bike, so I figured, hey, you know, I'll give the standard a shot and go from there, you know. But and I ended up enjoying that test ride so much, and the feel of the bike so much. Actually, a couple things I really liked about the motorcycle versus the Cafe version, and I think the number one thing actually is that the bars, I feel like, were a little fatter on that bike. Yeah, I said it already, but the ergonomics on this are definitely my cup of tea. More lean forward, sportier position, on your balls of your feet, engaged in the ride, responsive controls, responsive throttle, responsive suspension, lots of torque. I mean, I'm in 6th gear and I'm still pulling, and I'm at 40 miles an hour, so I think this bike, you can really ride it the way you want. You can be super aggressive with it, or you can ride it just kind of cruising around. you can tell there's a lot on tap on this bike, and it's sort of like pushing you to ride it harder than you normally would. They put traction control on this bike for a reason, because you can wheelie this thing and it can get out of hand, you know, if you don't know what you're doing. Oh, man, I'm just really enjoying this ride. Inverted front forks, you got adjustable suspension, and I have to say the biggest up for this bike versus any other bike I've ever ridden is that it has suspension, like really good suspension, versus most of the bikes I've had have just been kind of standard suspension. Also, I think the seat on the standard version is a little more plush and comfortable, and this one's a little harder, but that could just be me. I also have my tail bag on the back, so that could be skewing my perception of that. So, man, this gearbox is buttery smooth. Reminds me of my W800. Woo! Also, another thing reminds me of my W800 is it does have an abrupt, sort of an abrupt lunge forward when you click it into first gear when you first turn it on. Yeah, another thing too I like about Kawasaki, they kind of think of, you know, what the rider is going to need as far as what's on the bike, right? So they give you a 2-up seat right off the bat, which is great. They also have luggage hooks that come standard on there. I mean, just stuff like that, you know, that a lot of brands you'd have to pay for 2-up seat or another seat, and then you would have to buy you know, passenger pegs and everything. Yeah, that's pretty standard stuff, but I just like that Kawasaki sells a motorcycle that is ready to go, that you don't have to do anything to if you don't want to. Like, you know, this bike is ready to go out of the gate, you know, just like little touches like the adjustable levers. You know, I feel like the company or whoever's designing this bike is thinking about the rider and not just sort of the bottom dollar. Yeah, I'm in 4th gear going 30 miles an hour, and there's tons of pull left on this thing. So yeah, not much to say about this. I mean, overall, it's just like the Z900RS. This is just a cafe version, so a little bit different ergonomics. That's the biggest difference. Same bike with different styling cues and different ergonomics. Different seat, different handlebars pretty much, and a cowl on the front end. You might actually be more comfortable on the RS version versus the Cafe, because it is just a more upright seating position, and for most people that's really what they want. You know, you really want to be just very, very comfortable on the bike. Okay, so let's talk about the brakes for a second. The brakes do feel very responsive, however, I think they're just new pads and they just need to be broken in. It's a very solid feeling, but the pads aren't biting as much as previous bikes I've owned. Other things I didn't mess with on the bike, let's see. You have 4-way flashers, which is awesome. You know, what's funny is on my Bonneville, there's no hazard lights, which you kind of really need those when you're on a motorcycle, especially if you have to pull over to the side of the road really quick. You really need those 4-way flashers going. I do love having the dual clocks. On my Indian, I always had to cycle to get to the rev meter. I really hated that. Alright guys, I think that about does it for this first ride. I would say just try them both out, see what you like best, and go with that. Nothing too much more to say here. Just an overall great bike. Just a real winner in my opinion for Kawasaki. Alright guys, Kawasaki Z900RS Cafe. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment down below. It's Bert's Bike, and I will catch you on the next one.